Hi lovelies, so I'm back with a reaction video today and I'm going to be reacting to Casey's podcast that a few people asked me to react to. It has Sean on it. I am looking forward to this. I never knew that Casey had a podcast, so that's really cool as well. I am going to be doing this in two parts because this is a 1 hour video, just a little bit over an hour. So I will be doing part one, which is right now, which will be 30 minutes, and then I'll do the part two another day and it will be 30 minutes long. So yeah, but before I jump into this, make sure you jump over to my Instagram and follow me over there. Thank you for sending me lovely messages and leaving comments and stuff like that. I am very happy and grateful for the positivity and the love, so thank you so much. Make sure you jump over there and follow me. But yes, I may even relate to this podcast because I get stressed, okay, a lot. And I used to deal with really bad anxiety. I don't have it as bad as I used to. I can kind of cope with certain situations better, and I can cope with my anxiety a little bit more. If I was to have a panic attack or something, I can kind of calm myself down now. So I don't really have really bad crippling anxiety like I used to, so I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you think about it in the comments, or leave any comment at all and I can comment back and chat with you. I love doing that. But anyways guys, thank you for watching and I'm going to jump straight into it.
Hi guys, what's up? It's Casey here and welcome back to Just Being We, the podcast.
Oh my goodness, why did I Sean is there. Why did I think that was just a cushion, and then I've just noticed his legs.
Here and welcome back to Just Being We, the podcast that's not really a podcast, but it's just more about us having a conversation and just being ourselves. Today, I brought a pillow with me. No, I brought some random stranger that I just found on the street again. It is, what's your name, mister?
My name is Sean Lew.
Wow, so nice to meet you.
You always find me on the same street, too.
I know.
It's kind of crazy.
What a coincidence. And you were available today?
I need to get off that street. Yeah.
This is Sean Lew.
Hello.
He is an incredible choreographer,
yes,
dancer,
tell him.
chef, Chop Junior
what
champion.
What can Sean not do?
World of Dance partner.
I'll take that one. I'll take that one. That one's
He's
a win.
Part of Sean and Casey. Just everything.
I love when they all include you.
Chop Junior?
Yeah.
Oh, I almost forgot. Sean Lew approved as well.
Oh, right.
Yeah, the most important one.
That's the most
I forgot about
that.
Yeah. It's top of your resume.
Yep, that's what everyone knows me for. I get stopped on the streets just for that show. It's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Saw that Jojo Gomez was on her podcast, which you should already know. I love me some Jojo. Like, she is definitely just my favorite person ever, so I might even check that one out too. Due to important some of the parts of the episode were inaudible. There's no problem, Casey. Cuts and there's no problem. I get it, stuff happens sometimes. That is no problem. Yes, we are here for you, cute. Nice.
You and everything, and honestly, we could do like a billion episodes because there's so much to talk about.
There's
I feel like
too much to talk about.
Too much. Like this, however long this episode's going to be is not going to be enough.
It really isn't. I anticipate this, whatever comes out of this episode is like 2% of what we really want to get out of this.
Watch it be like 10 minutes and we're like, okay,
that was
we're done talking.
Well, it's not even like it's not even like we try ending it. It's just like it's so quiet that we have to end it. We're just like
cricket.
Just end it.
Yeah.
No.
Just slow down our voice.
It's the opposite, Casey.
Yeah, no, it is.
It's the opposite.
Well, I should probably introduce what this episode is.
Yeah, probably.
This episode is going to be talking about stress and anxiety. Woo! We love that. You know, because you go through it, right?
Do I?
I don't know. Do I?
Do you? I don't. You seem pretty.
You seem pretty on it too.
Yeah, no, we're a mess.
Just a mess, but it's fine.
Yeah.
That's what we're here to talk about. But
Yes.
before we get into the deepness of that, how did we meet?
How do we meet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Was it Showstopper? A Showstopper.
Yeah, Showstoppers.
Yeah, Showstoppers, Anaheim.
Dance competition.
Dance competition, Disneyland.
Yeah.
And,
Do you remember the date? I'm going to quiz you on that.
Whoa.
Oh,
It was in May.
I remember.
It was May.
Yes.
May 12th.
No.
May not May. Oh, no, May 21st, sorry.
No.
What? Oh, 23rd.
No.
Wait, what?
The 12 was in the year.
Well, no, I know it was 2012, but it wasn't May 12th?
It's the 28th.
28th.
Yeah, because remember, like, World of Dance premiered on the 29th.
Oh, the 29th. Oh,
Yeah.
right. Sorry. That's probably my brain.
I'm ashamed.
You know what it is?
I'm disappointed.
It's an excuse, but it's probably also my brain, like, trying to delete everything of World of Dance. So, like, once I got close to, like, that day, I was like, it's got to be away from the
Yeah.
28th. But no, yeah, the 28th makes sense. I mean, I should know.
Don't worry, we'll edit that. So,
Yeah,
like,
thank
you
you.
got the answer right.
Thank you. I'm like 21st, and it's like what's over to the 28th. No. I just remember, like, the memory of remembering you. It was just funny because it was the first time that my parents, like, pushed me to take a picture with you.
Yeah.
Or just, like, with anyone in general. And usually they don't really care. Like, anyone that wasn't in my studio.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for some reason, my parents were like, go, take a picture. You guys take a picture
Yeah.
together. And I remember your parents doing the same. And I mean, my parents were probably a little bit more enthusiastic. But, like, but then I just remember I think I was just like this. And then
Yeah.
you were like,
It was just
we were
awkward.
just both noticeably very awkward.
But, like, I was ripped.
You were ripped. You were ripped.
Like, dang.
And I'm still the same. But
No.
I just remember from that day we would always cross paths with each other. And the funny thing is that even after a few years past that, we weren't really ever that close.
Yeah, we weren't around each other.
Like, we
as
weren't
often.
considered friends.
Yeah.
Like, we were considered maybe peers because we'd be with each other.
Yeah.
But, like, I wouldn't ever be like, oh my God, you want to, like, get some, like, some
Right.
drinks or smoothies before class, you know? And I just know that, like, the universe kept constantly putting
Damn.
us in the same room.
Yes, they was meant to be. I always say they are dancing soul mates. Okay, even the universe was like, you gotta keep bumping into each other, okay? Because you're both just meant to just be in each other's lives.
And I just know that, like, the universe kept constantly putting us in the same room.
Yeah.
To a point where I noticed you so much that I was so aware of who you were as a dancer, who you were as a person, who you were as an artist. And that's the main reason why, like, I approached you out of the blue for The Wrong Words. Of the first concert video.
Yeah.
And then after that, it was like a no-brainer. You know, it's kind of like, it makes no sense why we weren't friends sooner, or as close as we are now sooner. And then from there, just kind of like life took its course. We both just did the uncomfortable together, and I mean, that's how I see it. You know?
I just remember, like, when we were, like, 2012, meeting each other for the first time. My first impression was being, number one, very intimidated because every single time, because every time we would compete against you guys, I mean, hence it was only at Showstoppers, because that's, like, the longest one that we went to.
Yeah.
But I would always be like, dang, there's a guy in their group, they're gonna win. Because that's how, like, it was back then, where,
Really?
like, at least, like, how we felt was like, oh, dang it, because we didn't really have guys at our studio.
Right.
But, like, but then also, like, seeing you guys perform, I was like, dang it, we're gonna lose.
Wow, I would have never thought that.
Yeah.
And so, honestly, I always talk about how, like, what I would do to just go back to thinking like a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Because like everything that you explained, when I was competing, I had this sort of like thought where, yeah, obviously we want to win, but it was never like, oh, I wanted to beat that person. It was just more sort of like, oh, did I do good enough to deserve gold medalist? You know, and I feel like everyone was like that as compared to now. Obviously, it's like everyone's comparing ourselves to each other and to other people. But like to think about like the type of competitiveness in those competitions when we were younger, I'm just like, oh, I miss that.
I miss it too.
Yeah.
But like, again, I don't miss it.
I miss the memories.
Yeah, I think because like we have good memories. I always talk about that with like school too, because I didn't go to a public middle or high school.
Yeah.
So I have good memories of school. So I'm like, oh, I want to go back, but it's because I only have up till halfway through 6, and then I was homeschooled.
Yeah. See, I did 1 year of both middle and high school. I hated it.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back.
I'm glad I didn't have those like.
But I'm weird in that. You know, I'm weird in that way. Like I'll literally have like lunch in the middle, that like empty locker room because I just choose to, and then I'll go back home complaining like I don't have any friends.
Yeah.
So like it's kind of my fault. Yeah. But like then again, I just didn't miss it either.
Yeah.
I would yeah. School's a whole nother episode for me, but anyways, yeah. I feel like that's. In my perspective, like the bigger picture of how we met is just, it was kind of like nothing was forced, nothing was
good.
Nothing was planned. If anything, it was just kind of like, even when World of Dance happened, we still had doubts. We weren't just like, oh, this feels right, let's do it. It was, I know. I mean, everyone knows about the call. I mean, if they don't, it's like, you know, I called you, you left me on hold on your ceiling for like.
I like want to find those phone records and see
how long the call was. I'm pretty sure it was a good like 40 minutes. Like,
I was gonna say it was 2.5 hours. Because I just feel like we were on that phone for so long. Because I went up and down the stairs.
Yeah, I was on the phone for so long. You said you looked at you.
No, I have a vivid memory of going up the stairs in my parents' house. My phone is on the floor and I'm laying down.
Were you really?
Yeah, I was laying down. My phone was here, and I was just like grabbing my head, being like, "Oh my god, I don't know if I want to do this," and just being the
like, how do I tell Sean?
Yeah, and like literally, I was on the verge of saying I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And then I went downstairs, and my mom was like, "You're doing it," and then I was like,
"Thanks, Laura."
But then it took me another like 20 minutes, and then I was like, you know what, it would be cool to do it. But again, I think it goes back to, because at that time we had danced together already and we were like closer than when we first met. I think I was still almost intimidated because I felt like, oh my god, I'm not like good enough for like, is it gonna like, you know, just my own like self-doubts were getting in the way of that.
I think that's why we worked well together, because I had the same perspective with you.
Yeah.
Like more so of like, I'm like, oh, Casey has done this, Casey has been part of that, and I was like, it's like, I don't know if I'm good enough for her to even say yes. That's why when you did put me on hold, I literally was looking.
Yes, put you on hold.
You put me on hold. You put me on hold longer than you put me on hold longer than like a freaking T-Mobile agent. And I was like, and the worst part is there was no holding music.
There was no music.
It was just silence. Actually, if anything, it was your mom.
Hey,
like,
is that where the first song came from? Silence?
No, not the song. It was the inspiration. Yeah. It's how I felt in the call. Could you imagine? No, I remember your mom being like, "Hey, Sean." And I was like, "Hi, Laura." She's like, "Yeah, she's not here right now. She's thinking." I was like, I was like, okay.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I remember that.
I passed my phone off to my family.
No, yeah. You just left it there, but no, like I was saying, like I also had that same perspective where I'm just like, I don't know, like. Maybe I'm not good enough personally for her to convince her to do it, you know. And then, like I said, when you left, I remember I like looked at my mom because she was right next to me because she was there to like convince me to call you about it, and she was like, she looked at me as if like she felt bad for me because I was just like, what did I say? And then my mom was just like, and I was just like, and I was like, I don't know what to say. So yeah, I think our level of expectations for each other is kind of what inspires us. Like I think that there's two ways to go about it. Like when you're intimidated and when you're intimidated by someone, you can either take in a route where you use that as fuel to compete against them, or you use that as fuel to inspire yourself. And I think that in our case, it was always the competitiveness of that natural state never happened between us. It was never like oh, I have to be better than you. It was more so of like, wow, that makes me want to be better. And I think that's why that's why even in the competition state of World of Dance, we fueled each other up, and there's a lot that we learned about each other, but it didn't interfere with anything. It didn't create these obstacles. It just opened up these like new doors for us as partners, and being like, okay, don't talk to her before we perform. Got it. You know? And it's like things
and
like
you
that.
were just like jumping around.
I was like, Casey, you got this. And she was just like
in my own zone.
Yeah. So yeah, I it made me realize how much you learn about someone when you just see it in that way of intimidation, you know, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. And honestly, like one of the most like pivotal moments of me opening up even more, because I mean, you know, like I did not talk even when we were doing the beginning of World of Dance. I didn't talk to you really. I was just kind of like sitting, nodding, agreeing, and then I would go back to the hotel room and be like, I don't know about this part.
For real?
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
No, I remember there would be times when like we would be in rehearsal and like I would get back to the hotel room and then I would tell my mom, I was like, I don't know if I know about this part, and she's like, just tell him. That's kind of like when I started to open up more, because like I was just so afraid, because like I respected you and like everything that you do is like so insanely incredible, and like I just felt like in my own head, I was like, oh, my opinion is so bad, like, that it doesn't even matter. But no, I ended up saying it.
You did, no, but do you know how hard it was to pull it out of you, though? It was almost like when I tried pulling it out of you, you acted like you had nothing.
Yeah.
So hearing you say this now, it's like you had something in your head to say out loud, and it was like, and I remember like in our at least first rehearsals, it would just be like, oh, how do you feel about this?
Yeah.
And you know, you feel like, you know, and like it would be so consistent that I'd be like, wow, she really just has no thoughts on it, or like she really just likes it, or like, wow, I'm doing a great job, you know, whatever it is. And I know when I don't feel like I'm doing a great job myself, I would still ask you, and if you still go, and I'm like, something doesn't feel right, you know, and yeah, I just.
But now I have too much opinion, and you're like, just stop.
Honestly, it's like no. You know what? It's now. It's great. Before it was definitely like. It was like you got so far off in the deep ends of both sides that now it's kind of been like this.
Yeah.
Where like, but there are still certain moments where like I'll like ask you what you think about something, you'd be like, yeah, and then after that I'll end up figuring out myself. I'm like, I don't like this part, and you'd be like, yeah. I didn't like it either. I'm like, well, god damn it, you made me think about it for 30 minutes until you finally.
My battery's dying. Hang on, guys. We do not want to get cut off. Okay. Sorry about that.
Told me, but.
No, going back to my beginning point of what I was just saying.
Sorry.
No, it was my fault. I got into that.
Okay.
But one of the most like pivotal moments of me like actually starting to open up was, I don't know if you remember, but we were filming what's it called? That one video.
Two?
No. Skyscraper.
Oh,
shout out to Deidre.
Oh my goodness! I thought she was gonna say Skyscraper, or what's the other one called that I always cry? I always cry when I watch it. Station. Is it called Station? When they're in like that room. Oh my goodness. I think it's called Station. Let me know in the comments. But that one is the one that I cry every time. Like I can watch it now. I've watched it at least. I'm not joking. Over 20 times, maybe over 30 times I've watched it, and Station still makes me cry. Skyscraper makes me cry. I don't know. It's just so good. But anyway, so good.
Skyscraper.
Oh, shout out to Dietrich.
Hey, Dietrich.
You son of a.
But remember, we shot it once, and then like we went home, and then he called. I don't know if he called you, but he called me and was like, I want to reshoot this. And
I don't remember.
yeah, so he called me and he's like, I want to reshoot this. And he's like, the beginning, like, it was good when we were supposed to, like, get very emotional.
Yeah.
But he was like, I feel like there's more and I want to push there. I was like, okay. So then we went back and we reshot it. But that night, like, he was, you know, he took you and, like, talked to you.
Oh, wait. The video that did come out, that was the reshoot, right?
Yes.
Yes. I remember that. Yeah, I remember
But,
that.
like, I remember he took you and talked to you for, like, a good hour. And I was just, like, inside waiting. And then he took me and talked to me. And then after we shot, or, like, right before we shot that first thing of, like, me looking at the flame and stuff, he had us sit down.
Yeah.
And, like, he was like, just talk. And
No. He said just look at each other.
Yeah.
He's like, just stare at each other.
But then, like, when we were shooting, like, my coverage and then shooting your coverage, he had us talk off screen.
Oh, yeah.
To get that. And it, like, after that shoot, it, like, opened up this whole other door because we had never, like, gotten that vulnerable in front of each other. When I was younger and it was around that time, I was terrible at opening up to people, and I never opened up to anybody.
Well, that was what's weird, was because I was in a situation where I was always around your family. So it was so hard for me to, like, grasp, like, you opening up to your family.
Yeah.
And then you were so good at switching back to, like, closing in once I, like, came in.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, I'm like, oh, that's just how she is all the time. I was just like,
Yeah.
I was like,
I think because at the time, like, my family was the only one who, like, saw me.
Right.
And, like, but when we did have that conversation, I think that opened up my mind to being like, I need to start doing this more often because, like...
Shoot constipated with
that,
Yeah.
No, but that, like, it opened up my eyes to not being selfish with my own feelings and, like, letting other people in, because the only way that they are going to know what you're thinking and what you're truly feeling is if, like, you let them.
Right.
But I just remember, like, ever since that day, it truly did, like, impact my life in a way where now, like, I don't know if you ever remember, but, like, even a year later, I was like, let's talk. And, like, we sat down on your couch and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like, we got, like, super deep and emotional. And then you're like, why did you just do that?
Oh, yeah.
We need to do this more often.
Yeah.
But I think that's why, like, we're so close, and always, like, whenever we do get back together and everything, it's so comfortable, and it doesn't feel awkward because, like, we've been through so much and we've seen the highs and lows of everything. And so
it's like family.
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to see your sister for, like, what, like half a year, and then you see them in the holidays and you just catch right back up.
Yeah.
Like, that's how I feel with you all the time. It's just kind of like, it's like I trust that no matter what happens, like, and this goes to people who question our partnership in the public eye. It's kind of like, we obviously started in a sense that everyone knew exactly what was happening from like start to end, but, like, to a certain point where we both matured individually, it's like now it's gotten so deep at a point where, like I said, there's so much roots in the trunk that, like, regardless of how long, how far, when, how, or whatever it is, like, we come back and it's just kind of like this is everything about me, this is everything about you. It's like, great, now we move on and then pick a day to do another podcast episode. You know, but, like, it's as easy as that. And if anything, like, what normally takes about, like, a month to catch up on, it's like it takes us, like, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It is really interesting, but that goes to show, like, how much that we've also witnessed in each other's lives personally, that a lot of people don't necessarily couldn't even imagine knowing about.
Yeah. And I think also, like, time in everything, another part that maybe I didn't realize at the time, but, like, it was probably, like, the start of kind of my anxiety. And I think my anxiety, it stems from, like, wanting to please people. And so I feel like wasn't able to open up completely because I didn't want to say the wrong thing. So it was like I was getting anxious, like opening up because I didn't know how to at the time.
Yeah.
And I know, like, going through that whole process with you and, like, with World of Dance and everything that happened after that as well, like, we both got to see how we react in stressful situations.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's also a learning curve of learning how to deal with that and how other people deal with it, because people deal with it in different ways.
Yes. I don't know about you, but how do I deal with stress? I'm trying to think, like, how do I deal with stress? So if I'm really stressed, it can take a toll on my body. Like, I can get more spots on my face. Okay, I can get a rash on my back. Like, it's not a joke. But if I'm really stressed, I'll get anxious, and that's when my anxiety will kind of come on a little bit, and I'll have trouble sleeping and stuff like that. I won't have an appetite, or I'll have a big appetite. There's like no, it's one or the other. But yeah, I get stressed. Like, let me know how you deal with stress if you would like to in the comments down below. But yeah, it can be really hard sometimes, like dealing with stress.
Deal with it because people deal with it in different ways.
Yeah.
But like when, like how did it like?
How did that happen for me?
Yeah.
Or where does it stem from me?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like this sounds so silly. I was like, I feel like I've been stressed my whole life.
You just were born and you're like,
I'm not even kidding. I feel like when I look back on it, it's like, you know, stress comes in different forms, different emotions, different ways. And I feel like it just, at every age of my life, I just had a different form of stress. Whether if that was like stressed about competition, I'm stressed about what I'm stressed. But it was always like I was stressed about my career. And I think that the biggest form of stress for me was when I was stressed about life.
Yes.
Like, to me, like, you and I grew up in a very, very, very industry, social media, like just a very public life.
Yes.
And to be fair, I'm very, very grateful for that. Like, I think that we always talk about the era that we grew up in, and we were privileged enough to like experience, like, we could not trade that. We would never trade that for anything in the world.
Being able to like grow up with it instead of being born into it or
exactly.
It is a privilege.
We got so lucky. But like, because of that, I feel like it's always been like, oh, I'm so worried about dance this, dance that, career this, winning that, trophy that. Up until like, then I'm like, I turn 18, or even just, it was like almost at the end of World of Dance, which I think I was like 17. And I started transitioning into the life where I'm like, wow, I have to start thinking about not just dance. And then the type of stress that I started experiencing and the type of anxiety. Well, I started with stress first because it's a little bit more subtle. But like, you know, it's a little bit more familiar. Yeah. Subtle is the worst word. It's It's a little bit more familiar to me. And I was just like, wow. I remember I would have arguments with my mom. Even though then, like, when I have arguments with my mom, it's not about life. It's about like, oh, you didn't finish your homework and now you can't dance, but you want to dance. But it was like, it's still about dance. But then, like I said, as I got older, the arguments started becoming more about like, what are you gonna do in your life?
Yeah.
What do you?
That is the most terrifying question.
Yeah, like you, if you want to dance, you have to find a way to dance now. You know, it's like, and it was just like, I remember I had a really emotional conversation during COVID with my family, and I was like, COVID was like the worst year of my life. And I'm sure it was for a lot of people, but it was not only the worst year of my life, but it was like the stem for me where I was at the lowest of the low of my life. And like, that came down to like the discovery of like anxiety attacks, pushing away my family, even like abusive food relationships, all these things like that. Like it just stemmed that year, and it just like,
Wow.
I feel like the way that it came about was just because now I'm stuck in my own bubble, and the bubble is reflective. So all I'm seeing are things that what used to work now doesn't work. You know, like, oh, I can do this to distract myself. It's like, shoot, that's taken away from me. I'm like, oh, then I'll just do this. That's just can distract myself. I'm like, oh, wait, I can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, great. Now I need to find something else that will distract me. And I took the worst ways to go about it. And it like hurt me physically, mentally. But then again, that was me telling myself, like, you're just stressed. You'll get over it. And I think that's also one of the most dangerous things about like being stressed out about things, is that like you tell yourself it's temporary. So like it'll pass by eventually.
Yeah.
So you just got to get through the stress, and you know it'll get better. But if you don't find the core of why it's happening soon, you're really just growing and feeding that stress instead. And then the next time you get stressed, it gets worse. And it gets worse and it gets worse, and then you get anxiety and all these things like that. As opposed to like, my sister comes up to me in the middle of the night and I'm editing, and she's like, are you okay? Like, I'm fine, leave me alone. I'm like, I'm just working. As opposed to being like, no, I feel insane.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm just trying to stay up because I need to finish this. And you know, it's like just facing it straight on from the beginning, I always feel like is the most uncomfortable, but it's also the most effective way to heal yourself and to get on a more less stressful direction. You know, I don't know. It's yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the more you neglect it, the bigger it grows.
Yeah.
Whether you know it.
Do not shove it under the rug, okay? You know, when people are like, yeah, just shove it under the... Do not shove it under the rug, because it will get worse. Like, it will get worse.
Or not.
Yeah.
And then one day it just sneaks up behind you. And I think that's kind of what happened with me, is like, I had never really, like my story with like stress and anxiety, I don't think I ever really went through it like when I was younger. I feel like I didn't start to go through it until 2019. Like,
well, let me ask you this: when you were learning from all of the classes and stuff like that, right? Like, weren't you always like, wasn't like, I mean, this is just from a fellow friend, student, yeah, who took class next to you.
Yeah.
But like, you know how we were always like hoping that like we do good enough that the teacher notices us. There's a level of stress there that sits in us that, like you said, that you don't even notice.
Yeah.
And it's.
I think especially for us and how we grew up with like the concept of class videos, there was always this sort of extra pressure from the outside. Of comparison
or
and
pleasing.
Competitive, or pleasing. And for us, it was like, we're just taking class and it's getting captured. But to the outside eye, it's like, ooh, they messed up here. Ooh, so there was always, I think, that underlying sort of pressure and expectation of, if I don't do good on this, like, I'm done for, you know, or something like that. So I think there was always some
out of the industry.
But there's always some sort of stress there, I guess, but it didn't affect me on the outside.
Right.
I think it affected me on the inside, as it would with anybody.
Right.
But I think it's so crazy how much worse my anxiety and stress has gotten in the past 4 years or so.
Yeah.
And like to the point where even in classes nowadays, I have full-on anxiety panic attacks, like right before I go out.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think that's why. It's like I'm trying to figure out why it is, but I think because for the longest time also, and I still do to this day, but I had like body dysmorphia, and so I think the thought of like I'm going to be filmed and like I have to look at myself. It was like this scary thought, and like that part, like it's not as bad as it was in the past years, but I think just getting in front of like a camera like that, there's always just this sort of anxiety and pressure that I put on myself, because I don't know, it's just weird. Like I put the pressure on myself, even though like I know I'm the one who's putting these thoughts in my head, if that makes sense.
Well, let me tell you this. I think that with the way that you, like, I think there's so many ways to go about not getting rid of, like, decreasing the anxiety of, like, the way you feel going into classes. From what I'm hearing, I feel like trying to change those thoughts that you're giving yourself isn't what's going to help. Like, if, you know, like, because obviously the thing that is causing it is by you giving yourself these thoughts, right? And rather than seeing, like, okay, I need to tell myself better thoughts, it's more so of, like, it's almost the opposite, where you almost have to remind yourself, like, and this is actually something that I went through exactly. This is what I'm telling you, is because, like, I still have to remind myself this every day.
Yeah.
Like, I'll go through days where, like, I don't drink, but I don't know.
He's 21.
That's the worst way to start. I don't
drink, but
I don't drink, but no, but I definitely, like I mentioned before, I had a very abusive relationship with food.
Yeah.
So there's certain, like, times where, like, I tap into that and I just, like, look at myself with disgust, and then I think there's no going back, and then after that, like, I don't want to leave the house, and I'm just like, I'm like, God, I can't recover from this, or either that, or I have to kill myself with, like, working out and this and that, because, you know, like, people have seen me look better, and people blah blah blah. And the one thing I would tell you that I'm still going through myself is that, like, the people who see us on camera, and the people who, like, know us for who we are, they didn't stick around because of how we look.
Yeah.
Or they didn't stick around because of us inspiring them on their fitness journey, whatever it is. It's like,
yeah, it's true.
It's like I could be 40 pounds heavier, but if I were just as committed to my art and just as committed to my intention of inspiring someone through my dancing, through my acting, or through whatever art form I choose to do, they're going to come back for that, regardless of how I look, whatever that may be. And so I think when you come into class, it's like, it's a less of a matter of, like, oh my God, I look different, I'm afraid that people are going to see me differently. But still, if anything, you don't only dance the same as the last time you stepped in class, you probably dance better than the last time you stepped in class.
Damn right, she does. Okay, let me just say this, Casey. You, like I said it the other day, even about both of them, every single time, I've watched them for years. I've watched, I don't even know how many Sean and Casey videos I've watched. I don't know how many Sean videos I've watched. I don't know how many Casey videos I've watched. I just know it. That honestly, I've watched so many. But they just get better and better and better every single time. Like I said the other day, like, it's crazy how every time they come back, they're just killing it. I watched one of Casey, I think a few months ago, and I was like, how is she just even better than when I last saw her? You know, it's crazy. So what Sean is saying is real words, true words, is the truth.
You don't only dance the same as the last time you stepped in class, you probably dance better than the last time you stepped in class, which means that regardless of how you look, people are always going to stick around because of what you do, not what you look like.
And see, like, I feel like, because this, how I was describing, I felt was more of kind of a after quarantine thing.
Yeah, the same,
because I was still, like, recovering from my eating disorder and everything, so that really freaked me out, and that really messed me up terribly. And so going back to class after quarantine and nobody knowing about that,
it's so
that's
weird.
what freaked me out, was like, people were gonna see me, and like, those were the thoughts in my head. I don't have that now, like, especially this year. I came into this year, and like, I have to say, because I can proudly say this, because every beginning of the other years have been total crap.
Yeah.
But this year, like, I don't know, I grabbed that. I feel like me. And like, I can say, maybe I'll do it after this, but I haven't cried once this year.
Yes.
So far.
Camera turns off.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
But like in a disgustful way. That's not a word, but like
No, I get what you mean.
like
Yeah.
in the past I would just cry because I was disgusted with myself.
Yeah.
And like I feel like I let myself down, so I was letting other people down.
Yeah.
And that is my biggest fear, is letting other people down because I feel bad about myself.
Yeah.
But this year, like, I came into it with a different mindset, and that mindset was just, again, to, like you said, it's not about, I have to practice what I preach, and I always preach about, it's like about who you are.
Yeah.
And but I feel like I was almost a hypocrite in the past, where I didn't always practice that myself.
Yeah.
But this year I came into it with that, and I'm truly going after things that scared me before.
Yes.
But now I'm like, you know what? I really am passionate about this. I'm gonna do it this year, and regardless of the outcome, because I know that people will be drawn to me for me, and the right people will be.
Yeah.
And they'll stick around for that. And I think that's what creates that special bond and that special relationship for you to grow with your audience and with your craft, and be able to grow into who you want to be.
Yeah.
So like I can like proudly say, I
Yeah.
don't know. And it's hard for me to admit that, but like it's the first time I actually feel it authentically. So like when you say like it's about like people come back to you, like I wish I could have heard that like 2 years ago, because that wasn't where my head was at. But it's also hard when you feel like you're going through it alone, because obviously like
Yes.
no one wants to put everything on the internet,
No.
you know, because social media is a terrifying place sometimes. But yeah, it's just hard because I didn't allow other people to see that side of me, and that was just kind of building inside.
Can I?
I'm gonna stop it there. Oh my goodness. This is honestly so relatable right now, and it's really nice to see Casey and Sean have this type of conversation. I've honestly learned a lot about Casey right now, you know, just from what she's been saying, and I'm happy that she feels a lot better and is doing so much more better. Also Sean as well, like, you don't know things unless somebody told you, you know. But it was even hearing about Sean and what he's been through, it just can be just very relatable and helpful for people. So I'm really enjoying the conversations that they're having right now. I'm so happy I'm reacting to it. So this is part 1. I will be reacting to all of the rest of the video next. Make sure you keep an eye out for part 2. Let me know what you think about it at the moment. I am loving it so far, you know. I just love the conversations they're having, and I'm looking forward to reacting to the rest of it. But anyways guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video very, very soon. Bye.